Alright, so I want to talk with you about this today. I should have done this a while ago, but now that the show's in danger of being canceled, it has to happen, like right now. So every couple or few seasons, there's always a really good show that gets moved to Friday night by Fox and thus is in danger of getting canceled. This time, it happens to be a show called Fringe. Now, if you haven't watched Fringe, I understand why you haven't watched Fringe, because you probably thought what I thought when I first heard about Fringe, and it was a ripoff of The X-Files. Fantastic. But it's really not. It's really nothing like The X-Files. It's more like a Michael Crichton book. Fringe deals with fringe science kind of stuff, hence the name Fringe. You know, stuff that's on like the realm of possibility, scientifically speaking. Not impossible, not quite proven, but theoretically possible, if that makes sense. Example, everything in the world's moving molecules. Take a solid, like a wall. It's solid because the molecules are moving very slowly, but theoretically speaking, if you speed up the molecules, you should be able to walk through the wall. That or it'll just be a goopy mess. And in Fringe, someone finds a way to walk through walls. But there's an overarching story that's one of the coolest things I've seen since like Lost. A story that might not be able to conclude because Fringe has been moved where shows go to die. As I've said, that is Friday night. Which makes no sense because Fringe is in its best season ever. It makes no sense to me to take a show that's in its best season ever and move it to Friday night where everything gets canceled. And one of the guys at Fox, like one of the higher up guys that makes these kind of stupid decisions, when Fringe was first moved to Friday night, it didn't take too big of a hit like the first week. And he was like, oh, see, you make a show right and it doesn't get affected when it moves to Friday night. So there that is. I think I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said. Which is him going, it was canceled because it was a dumb show. And it was canceled because it was a dumb show. And now the ratings are dropping on Fringe because its target demographic goes out and does shit on Friday nights. It's almost like whoever makes these decisions are just being childish. Like they're like, no, I will keep moving shows to Friday night to prove that it doesn't always get canceled. That's like putting a penny in a light socket and being like, no, sooner or later it's not going to shock me. Even if by fluke it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean you're right. But hey, it doesn't make as much as American Idol, so it's gotta go. Because it's all about the money. And the acting in Fringe is really solid. I mean, Joshua Jackson's really good in it. The chick who plays Olivia Dunham, I don't know her name because she's hot, but I don't know her name. But she's really good in it. And John Noble, Denethor from Lord of the Rings, plays this crazy scientist who was like Dr. Frankenstein 20 years ago, and he spent the last 20 years in an insane asylum, so he's a little crazy. Personally, I think he's robbed for a Golden Globe like every year. And in season 3, everyone's diversity in acting has to step up a notch, and it's awesome. If you watch Fringe, here's how it's gonna go down. Season 1's a bit episodic until the last few episodes, probably the last quarter of the first season. Then it starts getting into main story arc. Then season 2 picks up, and it's a little episodic also. By episodic, I mean like, you know, freak of the week. Like, oh, here's our case today, here's our case the next day, here's our case the next day, you know. And season 2's like that until about halfway through, and then after that, it starts getting into main story arc. Season 3 is like all main story arc, and the main story arc is great. I can't tell you too much about the main story arc. I can tell you Fringe is pretty much like this. Fringe science on a Michael Crichton level, and the world's gonna end. Because of something that happened years ago, the world is going to end now. And this is as spoilerish as I'm gonna get, but I think it's one of those things that'll intrigue you enough to watch it. So if you don't want to see this, I'm gonna plug your ears or something until I do this. Alright, here we go. It does deal with an alternate dimension. A dimension like ours, but it's different. So the characters in one dimension exist in the other dimension. They're just a little different there. Which is why the acting has to get stepped up a notch. Alright, you're good. Yeah, unplug. Yeah, you're good. So I would say watch Fringe, save this show. I do not want to see Fringe get canceled because of some dumbass decision to move it to Friday night when people know that that's when shows get canceled. That would be unconscionable. So I'm Jeremy, and I approve of Fringe. I want to see how the show turns out, and I want to enjoy it for about 6 or 7 seasons. Not too much to ask. Many people have tried to duplicate the Lost thing, you know, the whole supernatural thing that intrigues people, and they have failed time and time again. But Fringe is the closest thing since Lost. So watch Fringe on Friday nights on Fox, save the show, catch up on the last couple seasons if you need to, fact is preferred, and if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.